What's up, citizens of Gotham? You are all making it great again. My name is Graham Elwood. You are watching the Political Vigilante Progressive Comedy Tour coming to the East Coast June 12th through the 19th. Myself and Ron Placone come to a live show. They're amazing. We're hitting DC, Baltimore, Philly, New Haven, Connecticut, New York City, and Boston. Go to grahamelwood.com. Also support the show at rockfin.com. When you subscribe to Rockfin, it's only $10 a month, and you do it through grahamelwood.com. You are supporting the show. It's only $10 a month. And also you can go to patreon.com. Patreon is doing fantastic because I'm getting so much information from you folks. Like this was from Adam Martin. So last month in April, they had a runoff election and a city council election in the city of Chicago, where I'm from. And guess what happened? A socialist wave came to Chicago. This is big. This is the thing I've been talking about. You get progressives on your school board, on your city council. In a city like Chicago, the third largest city in America, they're getting socialists. That's big. Chicago's a big union town and all this stuff, but they've seen it. They've seen Rahm Emanuel's neoliberal, globalist, capitalist nonsense screw people over. They've seen unregulated police departments. They've seen what that's like. They've seen all of this stuff, man. That's what it is. So here's what the Chicago DSA put out after the election. All the votes have been counted, and Rosanna 433 has been elected alderman of the 33rd Ward. There will now be 6 Chicago DSA members on the Chicago City Council. That's pretty big, man. That's pretty big. Why is this happening? Chicago, like a lot of major cities, out of control rents, public schools, mismanagement, you know what I mean? Inequities, complete crazy inequities, really awful gang violence in the South and the West Side. I mean, just you name it, man. Chicago's a fantastic city. But it should be so much better. The money that city brings in tourism, the big companies that are there spending all this money, the tax money that it brings in, it's completely mismanaged, and developers and everybody, it's corrupt, just like America. So DSA is getting involved. 6 people on the Chicago City Council. That's big. That's huge. You're going to see some real changes happening in Chicago. Here's some of the ways how they did it. Chicago Socialists cleaned house last night in municipal elections, winning as many as 6 socialist city council members. The city's left has a historic opportunity to push back years of gentrification, police brutality, and austerity. Look, man, they've been doing that in LA, they've been doing it in New York, they've been doing it, I mean, that's how AOC got elected. People, rents are out of control in every city. San Francisco's crazy, LA's crazy. I mean, you name it. It's in all the major cities. It's out of control. Here's how some of the organizations did it. Hint, it's labor. Labor unions. They're a good thing. These victories, in which citywide organizations like United Working Families and the Chicago Democratic Socialists of America played a key role, mark a sea change in Chicago. They are a rare opportunity for progressive unions, radical social movements, and resurgent socialists to demand the working class have a say in Chicago. Chicago was this working class town for decades, man, centuries even. I mean, that's what that town was built on, is working class people. And it's great tech companies come in. That's great. That's fine. But they shouldn't get everything, and there's people living on the street, and people can't pay their bills, and the public schools aren't getting funded. I mean, like, it's on down the line. The Alliance of the City's Progressive Unions, led primarily by the Chicago teachers' unions. So we've talked about this. All of those teacher strikes, all that we've had for the last year or so around the country, and victories. Victory in LA, but a lot of victories in red states. Demanding more. This is what it takes. Getting involved and people saying, nope, I'm getting involved. I'm my union, this social organization, I'm joining the DSA, Movement for a People's Party, whatever it is, and we're getting involved now. Across the cities and South and West Sides was born in their work together in the 2012 teacher strike. This is, you can see why, like, they got rid of unions. Because unions are already an organization that has, can get people organized. You have union meetings, you can say union rally, you can say our union is backing that other union strike. This union is backing that progressive candidate. This is how powerful unions are. This is why when the labor movement started, there was not a lot of unions in the 20s. They started to form unions in the 20s and 30s, and that's when the Pinkertons came out and started killing people and beating the crap out of them. But unions got strong. And in the 40s, after the war, because we needed labor unions to build the war machine to fight in World War II. So then the unions got a lot of power. And that's when we had high wages, banking regulation, all that stuff. Highest union membership was in the 50s and early 60s. They started, and when the unions organized, so in the 70s and 80s, and when they slowly... Siri, stop talking. Why is she interrupting me? Robots. See, she's trying to interrupt me talking about labor unions. Apple, Google, NSA. So this is why they've tried to get rid of unions, because they're so good at organizing. And labor transcends gender, ethnicity, red state, blue state. It transcends political party. Everybody needs a good wage. Everybody needs money to feed their families. Everybody needs health care. Everybody needs a retirement plan. Everybody needs those things. Everybody needs those things. So if you take those things away, right? Look what Uber and Lyft did. They went on strike. This is important. And the fight against Rahm Emanuel in the 2015 mayoral race, in which Chuy Garcia managed to force a runoff election. The movement for criminal justice reform and against police violence has also played a key role, emerging in response to the murder of Lachlan McDonald, Rekia Boyd, and other black people by Chicago police officers, led primarily by young activists of color in groups like Assata's Daughters and BYP 100, had already forced the exit of Police Commissioner Gary McCarthy and State's Attorney Anita Alvarez before playing a major role in Rahm's surprise announcement last year that he wouldn't run for a third term. Rahm Emanuel, one of Obama's guys, right? Going back to his hometown, make it right. He made it worse. But they said no more. They said no more. I want to talk about the 25th Ward. That is the Pilsen district. That's where Thalia Hall is. That's where we did a Jimmy Dore show last July, and we're going back there this July. And people that let down there and got behind this candidate, Byron Sigcho, sorry, I'm mispronouncing, forgive me, Lopez, a community organizer, topped Alex Acevedo by almost 10%. The 25th Ward, the Pilsen Ward, is a largely Latino ward, right? Great Latino, Mexican, Central American restaurants. Fantastic. The theater, the Thalia Hall, is this awesome old theater. It's got such character. It's a neighborhood with a lot of character. Guess what they're facing? Gentrification and big corporations buying up old buildings and all this stuff, driving up the rents from people that have been living there for generations. So this guy got involved. I've talked about him before. People in the 25th Ward said, nope. Byron is the executive director of the Pilsen Alliance, which has led fights against developers in the rapidly gentrifying neighborhood, much of which was overseen by the ward's recently disgraced, wire-wearing alderman, Danny Salas. This is why I say this. If they can do this in Chicago, they can do it in your town. Gail McLaughlin did it in Richmond, California. She had like a 9-seat city council, small town, that Chevron literally had seats, they had people, and she beat them. She got progressives on the city council in a small town. If they can do it in Chicago, local wards, your ward, however they do it in your town, right? Chicago, it's aldermans and it's wards, maybe it's city council, district, whatever. Get progressives involved. Get labor unions. Get the DSA, and look what the DSA is doing. They're not sitting on their hands. They're getting involved. Movement for a People's Party. Get involved, man. I was told about this by a fan that had come to my shows when I was in Chicago several times, like in February, and I talked a little bit about it on the show, and I'm glad he won. But watch out, you guys. Don't let
we begin the vetting all this week and next of the extreme 2020 Democratic candidates as we examine the radical views tonight of Kamala Harris, the senator from California. Right. Now, later we have a mini monologue on the double standard between the treatment of Jussie Smollett versus Justice Kavanaugh versus the Covington kids. But we begin tonight with an important Hannity watch on the radical far-left Democratic Party and the dangers of socialism. And we are once again featuring and beginning with the 29-year-old socialist from New York who is both revered and feared inside her own party. Now, a few weeks ago, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez called for an end to all fossil fuels, gas-powered cars, airplanes in 10 years, maybe take a little longer, and even cows.
No, she didn't say those things, Sean. Sean, shh, quiet down, calm down. No. There's electric planes being developed. There's planes running on biofuel. She doesn't want to outlaw planes and cows. Socialism. I just talked about what actual socialism is and what the DSA is doing. It's about labor movements. It's about giving working class people, access to affordable rents, not getting driven up by rich assholes like that, like this guy right there, the most punchable face in America. Boom. That guy lives in a gated community. That guy. So look, there's a bunch of socialists on the Chicago City Council. They could do that to your town. Be careful, you guys. They could give you fair wages. They could come give you rent control. They could give you health care and benefits and union stuff and good schools. They could do that, those socialists. Because you know what socialists basically are? They're communists.
Therefore, propaganda is vastly more important in democratic societies.
In recognizing a communist, physical appearance counts for nothing. If he openly declares himself to be a communist, we take his word for it. If a person consistently reads and advocates the views expressed in a communist publication, he may be a communist. If a person supports organizations which reflect communist teachings, or organizations labeled communist by the Department of Justice, she may be a communist.
Trust women.
If a person defends the activities of communist nations while consistently attacking the domestic and foreign policy of the United States, she may be a communist.
She should be in the kitchen, not out there being a communist.
If a person does all these things over a period of time, he must be a communist.
Down with the imperialists.
But there are other communists who don't show their real faces, who work more silently.
By the early 1950s.
I can't listen anymore. Well, guys, the communists have taken over Chicago. Next thing, they're going to be serving borscht at Cubs games. This is a serious report from the political vigilante. Don't let them make you eat a borscht dog at a communist Chicago Cub game. They're probably going to not let us use baseball bats anymore since communist Ocasio-Cortez is going to outlaw cows. Say goodbye to milk because cows are going to be illegal under this communist nightmare that has taken over the city of Chicago. They're not going to dye the river green on St. Paddy's Day. They're going to dye it red on May Day.